Alright battlers, for the month of May, the Silph Arena Cup format is called the Forest Cup. I feature over 30 of the top meta Pokemon in this first look video. Let's get into it. Today's opponent is Shiny Hunter Ben, an elite trainer in the Silph Arena and rank 10 battler in the Go Battle League. This is a really great lead for us, Ampharos and the Mantine, so he swaps out immediately into his Shiftry. Volt Switch hits so hard that you need to get out of there or it does massive damage really quickly. He's actually going to throw Hurricane here on our Blaziken. Very spicy moveset from Shiftry. We haven't seen Hurricane. The recommended moveset has always been Foul Play and Leaf Blade. So here comes that Mantine, and I do fire off the Blast Burn. A lot of trainers these days are spending their elite TMs, giving their Blaziken Stone Edge, and it's for this matchup in particular. Stone Edge against Mantine does an enormous amount of damage, allowing you to flip this matchup in most shield scenarios. So Mantine did KO the Blaziken. I come in here with Ampharos. Out comes the Crustle. Lots of fast switching going on here. Crustle is a very fascinating Pokemon in the Forest Cup because both of its attacks have stab. It does have Scizor and Rock Slide. Being a bug rock type Pokemon, it gets stab from both of those attacks. He's actually going to shield up my attack and then hit us with the Scizor to KO Meganium. Out comes Ampharos. I'm going to go straight for our Focus Blast here, and it does get shielded. He's going to go ahead and fire for charge move here, expecting Rock Slide. I will shield because that would be super effective. He's actually going to swap out into Mantine, and I will farm down, but not before the Bubble Beam gets off. This is going to reduce our attack stat, but Ampharos' Focus Blast is still such an incredible attack. I'm going to release that as soon as Crustle comes back in, and even with a debuff, that is a KO. Going to this next game, Galvantula in the lead. Trainers, I have 30 unique Pokemon for you. You are not going to see the same team twice. I try to cover as much as I could, and Ben is going to use some really spicy picks as well. As you can tell, Zebstrika comes out. Out comes the Ferrothorn to answer my Swampert. So I am still learning my matchups. If I get the moves wrong, definitely let me know. I think Hydro Cannon is probably the right way to go here, but either way, the Power Whip is going to erase our Swampert. Ferrothorn with the newly buffed Bullet Seed is such an animal. It's so good. Here comes Sunny Castform. Sunny Castform is running Ember, Weather Ball, and Solar Beam. So that Solar Beam can hit things like rock types or water types for super effective, but it operates primarily as a fire type. Gonna fire up the Weather Ball there against Mantine, trying to bluff and say that I have Solar Beam, but I actually don't. So on this Castform, it's actually not double moved. He does hit us with that Bubble Beam. I'm gonna go for another Weather Ball here and draw that second shield. So Ben really doesn't want to get hit by a Solar Beam from Sunny Castform, but he's got nothing to worry about. I'm gonna continue to fire off the Weather Balls here. Not going to shield Castform either. I don't want to swap and then give up switch advantage. I'd rather just let Ben feint my Castform and get off a little bit of chip damage in the process. Bringing in my Spooter here. Going to go ahead and fire off the Discharge. Now, the electric types are going to get a buff very soon, and that is in the form of a better Wild Charge. He does fire the Flame Charge there against my Galvantula, which definitely would have one-shotted it, and then he goes for another, which is going to succeed. So, as I was saying, Wild Charge is going to get a buff very soon. It's going to get more attack. I think it lowers your defense as well, but we're waiting for that to happen. Here comes Mantine into Zebstrika. I'm going to swap out immediately into Stunfisk. So Stunfisk is very interesting. It's the best bug killer, but it is the worst against the grass types. As you see here, this Shiftry comes in, and I have nothing that can hit this Shiftry for super effective. Just going to go ahead and fire off that Discharge, but here comes the Leaf Blade. I know this is going to hurt really bad, but we are barely able to survive it. He actually gets to another Leaf Blade, trying to avoid me getting any more damage off on his Shiftry there. Now, I do have Kingdra on my team. Kingdra is the only dragon type allowed in the Forest Cup. It is a wonderful, immense closer. I think a lot of teams are going to use it. Purple Kyogre is actually already hyping it up, and it's going to be really amazing. All of my testing is really good with it so far. Gonna go ahead and fire off, try to fire off Bubble Beam here, but Zebstrika gets to its Discharge. I have my Kingdra though. Watch this. We're gonna feint down that Zebstrika. Shiftry is very weak. Out comes Blaziken, and don't forget, Kingdra is a water and dragon type with access to Octazooka, and Octazooka, even though it's not a very high damage output attack, is going to be super effective against Blaziken, so he absolutely has to shield. we are actually able to Dragon Breath down Blaziken, and then we're going to fire the Octazooka on Shiftry, and then we are going to Dragon Breath down Shiftry. Kingdra is so oppressive. If you do not have a counter for it, I think the steals will rise the more that Kingdra is used. So here we see Whiscash into Cradily. Cradily is another really interesting Pokemon, but Scolipede is going to come in here and do some really good damage with the bug bites. Going to go ahead and fire off the Scizor here, as this is stab. Swampert is not going to take super effective from Sludge Bomb there, so just going to go straight for these Scizors, forcing that first shield, which is really great. Scolipede looks so cool. It's one of the coolest looking Pokemon I think that's been introduced into the series, but it's very, very glassy. I'm trying to push here for another Scizor, but just like I just mentioned, it's very, very glassy and it does not survive long enough. So Swampert's going to fire off the Hydro Cannon here against our Ferrothorn. So Ferrothorn is my favorite grass type so far, being a grass and steel type. It's got some really awesome resistances. It is going to fall to things like a Blaziken or a Sunny Castform. Swapping again here into our Whiscash against Cradily. Cradily is a really great Pokemon as well. Being rock and grass, I believe, it does get stab on both of its attacks. Speaking of Cradily and Crustle, like we saw in the first game, there are so many viable safe swaps in the Forest Cup because so many of them get stab on their attacks and they have such great coverage. Stone Edge for the bugs, Grass Knot for the water types. Cradily is just such a jack of all trades. In comes this Galvantula. I'm going to go straight for Flash Cannon here, and that is going to KO it. Out comes Cradily and Bullet Seed battle, trying to push for the Power Whip, and Cradily is going to get there first. This attack is Stone Edge, and Ferrothorn survives. That bulk is just so insane, especially with that steel typing to help it resist the Stone Edge. So going into this game, we have two starters on our team with Typhlosion and Sceptile. Typhlosion going to encounter Lantern here, trying to look for the swap, and we finally get it. Coming in here, and look at that, the Scolipede's bug bites are already wearing down our grass type Sceptile. We're going to drop that Aerial Ace and try to push for the Leaf Blade here. I am running Fury Cutter here. I think on PvPoke it recommends Bullet Seed for your Sceptile, but either way, those are both really good moves. I feel like the Fury Cutter charges more quickly, but if you want to do more damage against the water types, then go for the Bullet Seed. So he does fire up the Sludge Bomb there against our Rainy Castform. So we saw Sunny Castform. Now this is the Rainy counterpart with access to Water Gun, Weather Ball, and Thunder. Here comes the Cherrim, and I swap. Out comes Typhlosion. Now, this is a tricky situation to be in because my Rainy Castform really can't do much to Cherrim, and I'm switch locked here against this Lantern. I'm actually going to try to bait here with the Blast Burn, and Ben does take the bait, throwing up that shield. I can't take any attack here from this Lantern because I want to have enough health to get off a Blast Burn, hopefully against that Cherrim. So we are going to drop the Solar Beam here against that Lantern. Out comes Cherrim. I'm trying to sack swap my Castform, but I end up going for the Weather Ball here. Ben is holding his energy, trying to push for another Weather Ball. I'm just kind of playing this match out because I know as soon as that Typhlosion comes in, he's going to fire off that Weather Ball to KO me. And here it comes. Let's see if the Weather Ball is enough on the Cherrim. And he actually Solar Beams me, so very GG's. I just got beamed. So going into this next matchup here against Ben, I'm going to lead Trash Wormadam into his Purified Blossom. So Purified Blossom has some interesting play. It can actually defeat a lot of Pokemon with that return. With the Bullet Seed upgrade, it's actually much faster. It used to only be a Razor Leaf user. Out comes that Ampharos, and this this Trash Wormadam is actually going to hold on pretty well. I do think that it might be a Focus Blast, so I do shield. I bring in my Zebstrika here, and this is pretty much a one and done for Zebstrika. Focus Blast going to one-shot it. Going to come back in here with my Trash Wormadam. Now, you might remember this from the Toxic Cup. Trash Wormadam is a huge part of the meta. Ben actually double baits me there with the Thunder Punch, which is not very good for us, but I've got a boatload of energy. I'm going to go ahead and fire off the Iron Head against whatever came in, and it will be Kingdra. So, going to push here for another Iron Head. I'm actually not sure, shields down, if Bug Buzz or Iron Head is better. I guess Bug Buzz would be. Going to come in here with Shiftry and hope that I can get to the Leaf Blade before he unleashes an attack, and we do. That Leaf Blade is going to land, but still, It is going to be a neutral attack versus that Kingdra because the dragon typing helps it resist. And here comes my opponent's last Pokemon, Bellossom. He's going to go ahead and fire off the Leaf Blade here, and that will KO Trash Wormadam. Going to this match, we are getting spicier and spicier battlers, Heatmor, Heracross, and Torterra. Heatmor into Meganium is a wonderful situation for us. He's going to swap out into his cast form, and I actually don't have an anti-fire on this team, so I'm going to stick this out because I'm fully confident in my Heracross to handle that Meganium later down the road. So gonna go ahead here and fire off Thunder Punches, trying to weaken this cast form. Gonna shield up this Weather Ball just so I can keep my Heatmor healthy, but he's actually built up enough energy for 2. So we are gonna tank that one. It will be not very effective, but Heatmor is not the bulkiest Pokemon. So we're gonna fire off one more Thunder Punch and then eventually KO cast form. Out comes Relicanth. This is beautiful for me, bringing in Torterra, switching here into Heracross versus Meganium, and this is right where we wanna be, trainers. Earthquake, Frenzy Plant, it's all resisted. Heracross is going to do really well, and I honestly don't even need to save a shield for my Torterra against his Relicanth because the Razor Leafs are going to do all the work for us. So here comes another Frenzy Plant, not a huge deal, just going to try to counter down Meganium, but we don't quite get there. Still not a big deal. Going to bring in Torterra here, farm down with Razor Leaf, and then face off here against Relicanth. Now Torterra is a ground and grass type, so the Aqua Tail hurts a little more than you'd expect, but the Razor Leafs tie it up. Going in here with Cherrim, an old favorite, Azumarill, and Magnezone in the back. So here we have our Cherrim facing off against Jumpluff. Jumpluff is a top tier Pokemon in the Forest Cup. I'm a little ashamed that it took me so long into the video to get to it, but if you stayed around this long, you are getting the real good stuff here because Jumpluff is an amazing Pokemon. It basically functions as the only flying type in the entire Forest Cup, so I think it's going to be on most teams. Out comes Tangrowth, another really interesting Pokemon. It does have access to Power Whip, as you see, doing a ton of damage to Azumarill, as well as Rock Slide and Ancient Power. So really great coverage on Tangrowth. It is a pure grass type, so Weather Ball is going to sting, and it does. Super effective, even though Weather Ball is not stab on Cherrim because Cherim's a grass type, it still does wonderful work. Going to farm up some extra energy here, and we actually over farm a little bit, but I'm going to allow this attack through and then attempt to farm down, but it's just not going to happen. Tangrowth is just bulky enough to prevent the Bullet Seed farm down. Have to fire up the Weather Ball there. Going to go for another Weather Ball in rapid succession against this Jumpluff. Now Jumpluff is a grass and flying type. I'm going to swap here to catch that Aerial Ace with the Magnezone. Not very effective. Out comes Quagsire. Don't forget about the Mud Boys, trainers. Whiscash, Swampert seem to be the two that get the most attention, but Quagsire is also viable in the Forest Cup, and it's got great coverage with its moves: Acid Spray, Sludge Bomb, Stone Edge, Earthquake. You never know what's going to come. Cherrim is going to stand here against Quagsire with its little tiny shield. It's going to go for the Solar Beam here. Let's see if Ben lets this through. And he does. We Solar Beam Quagsire. Out comes Jumpluff, and the Bullet Seeds are not doing much damage, so we're going to push Cherrim to its limits with the Weather Ball, but the Bullet Seed will KO. Going to the last game of the video, battlers, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have, let me know down in the comments below. Leave me a like, and then subscribe to see more Forest Cup and Go Battle League footage. Here we go with Scizor into Scizor, and you might think the only difference is that his is shiny, thus it does more damage. Just kidding, but he's running Bullet Punch, whereas I'm running Fury Cutter, so I'm going to consistently get to my moves more quickly than him. If you're going to run Scizor in the Forest Cup, I highly recommend Fury Cutter because there are no fairies, so there's nothing for Bullet Punch to hit for super effective. I am going to shield up here, not wanting to lose a switch advantage, and I realize I can get to my attack before he can, but he makes a beautiful swap here. Going to go ahead and fire off the Night Slash against this Empoleon. Empoleon, another interesting Pokemon. There are only a few steel types that are viable in the Forest Cup, one of them being Ferrothorn, the other being Empoleon. If you can list the other ones, let me know down in the comments below. We're going to go ahead and fire off the Energy Ball there against the Empoleon, and then look to make the swap here into our Minun against the Scizor. I really don't don't want to take any kind of attack from Scizor against a grass flying type Pokemon like Jumpluff, out comes his own Minun, and we're actually going to go here for the Discharge. Now, the Discharge is resisted by Electric. There are a lot of weird kind of typings that resist each other or are not super effective against each other. They become neutral. Bug is another one. Bug is not going to resist Bug. Electric doesn't resist Electric. I don't know if Rock resists Rock either, so if I make any typing mistakes, let me know in the comments down below. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for the Forest Cup. Going to go ahead and fire off our Aerial Ace here. Not very effective. Electric also resists Flying, so another interesting thing to remember, but I've got the shield, I've got the energy ball, and that is going to be GG's. Trainers, I hope you enjoy this. Thank you so much for watching until the end. I'll see you in the next one.